Eskom has been South Africa's most indebted state entity. In 2023, the National Treasury announced a debt relief package for Eskom of 245 billion rand over 3 years. But how has Eskom's debt impacted the fiscal integrity of South Africa's political economy? Development finance expert Anthony Julius published a research paper looking into this question. Anthony, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. How impactful has Eskom been, both from an asset and a liability perspective, on the balance sheet of SA Inc.?
Over the past 10 years, right, since the global financial crisis in 2008 until now, and let's exclude the COVID impact in 2020 to 2023. So if you look at the outcomes until 2019, you have seen a very negative impact that Eskom has had on us South African incorporated. And you will see that via the sovereign credit rating outcomes that we've had over that period. And so it has been negative, notwithstanding significant allocations, as you mentioned, of financial resources that have been provided to Eskom.
One then has to ask the question, because it's only up until very recently where the sovereign debt book took on some of Eskom's debt. Eskom has had its own debt sheet, it has its own credit rating, and has been evaluated on the basis of that in itself. Your paper seems to draw a link between sovereign debt and Eskom's debt and evaluating the fiscal impact of it. Draw us the link.
It's a very important link. And so what the research shows is that on the one hand, Eskom has a particular mandate, and its mandate is that of socioeconomic transformation. It needs to advance socioeconomic transformation and improve these conditions in the country. So if you look at the factors that have contributed to the outcomes that we've had on the sovereign rating, now this is South Africa Incorporated. The one factor that is common throughout the 4 rating agencies who have been rating South Africa over the period 2004 to 2019, which is the period over which this research has been undertaken. One factor is socioeconomic conditions. The socioeconomic conditions in the country is the number one factor that comes through in all of the ratings by rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, Fitch, Moody's, and Ratings and Incorporated, RNI, which is the Japanese rating agency. When socioeconomic conditions improve, sovereign ratings improve. When socioeconomic conditions deteriorate, the sovereign ratings deteriorate as well. The entities that are responsible for socioeconomic transformation are state-owned entities. And so if they underperform, it directly impacts the sovereign rating. And that's the strategic link. And that is what the paper shows in the case for Eskom.
Look, Eskom in and of itself has over the last couple of months, and I mean it falls outside the time frame of the chronology of your research, but let's be a little bit forward looking here. Eskom has over the last 8 to 9 months seen some rapid transformation. We've had 140 days just about of no load shedding. A great deal of maintenance on plant performance has been done before that. National Treasury has started operationalizing the debt relief, and Eskom seems to have reduced some of its overheads, particularly on things like diesel, having saved about 10 billion rand. To what extent would Eskom have to sustain this level of progress that we've seen in this very short period for it to be able to turn around the picture where the impact of Eskom on the political economy of SA Inc. would be a net positive?
So that is precisely where the role of Parliament comes in, because this is the responsibility now of a government of national unity that have a particular role to ensure that all of what is being done currently in a post-COVID environment, as you mentioned, these are all from a sovereign balance sheet perspective, these are all expenditures, liabilities. So you are saying there's support being given to Eskom, this is an expenditure, or there are guarantees being given, which was a contingent liability. These all would appear on the liability side of a sovereign balance sheet. What you would want to see happen over time, and this is where oversight is important, of this financial support being provided to state-owned entities. You'd want to see over time that these expenditure support provided to SOEs translate into the asset values appreciating as well on the exact same balance sheet of the state. So you have on the asset side of the state, you have revenues, you have state-owned entities, the value of state-owned entities, these are assets. So you'd want to see those values improve. You'd want to see revenues, corporate taxes coming through. You'd want to see the public infrastructure investments, the values of those improve over time. That will not be immediate because these are all over time. These are the factors on the revenue side, and on the asset side, you'd want to see improve relative to the expenditure, because the net impact of that from a balance sheet is that the balance sheet becomes more creditworthy and therefore lower cost of borrowing in future. Once you detect that that happens, you would then be in a position to say that these efforts on the expenditure side are sustainable and can be interpreted as positive.
Anthony, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Developmental finance expert Anthony Julies.